Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Faine from 774 ABC Melbourne, and I have the honour, on behalf of the Wheeler Centre for Books, Writing and Ideas, to welcome you all to hear Eva Gabrielsson talk about her book, Stieg and Me, to talk about her life, and to talk about Elizabeth Salander, undoubtedly, as well. Could you make her very welcome in Melbourne? Eva, thank you very much. Do you like Lisbeth Salander, the character?
Yeah, I do. I mean, she's a difficult kind of woman, but you can't help falling in love with her.
In love? What sort of love, given the character that she is?
I just love her as a person, the way she is. I mean, she's doing a lot of things that other people just dream about doing, taking action, even if it's sometimes illegal, but she has such a good heart. She might do the wrong things, but for the right reasons. So that's a wonderful little line I found in Shantaram, actually. David Gregory Roberts, when he's with this mob crowd in Mumbai, they always do this. They do the wrong things for the right reasons. So I thought that was a beautiful characterization of Lisbeth Salander as well.
She's a very damaged person, though.
Yeah.
And yet you still find her lovable.
Yeah. I don't think I'm the only one who does that.
She's a very closed person. She struggles to form relationships. She is a product of what has happened to her. And yet you still love her. There are, I'm sure, many people who read the book and might respect her or admire her, but I'm not sure about love her.
Well, I have to disagree. They had these radio shows in Sweden as well where they discussed Lisbeth Salander. I just heard one here and there. And middle-aged men actually said, Swedish middle-aged men said, I'd like to marry Lisbeth Salander. With her, I would have somebody to watch my back. I would have somebody I would totally rely on. So I think so. Yeah, people love her.
It's the trouble with those radio programs. You can't believe anything you hear on there.
Well, you would know.
The book is described, and the characters, men who hate women and women who hate men who hate women and so on. And yet there's the paradox that Blomqvist is such a womaniser himself. So what do we make of his relationship with women and the women's relationship with him?
It's funny you say he's a womanizer. I wonder if you read it correctly. He's a different kind of man, I'd say, because he really doesn't chase women around. He doesn't try to put any effort into charming them into bed or anything like that. They just fall over him. So it's actually what you see is the women taking advantage of him all through the book, every one of them. And that's also a new way of describing a man, I think, who's confident in himself to sort of be the one who's being chased rather than the one who's doing the hunting. So
I'm trying to think of an example where he says no. And there might be one, but it doesn't come to mind.
He's polite.
Well, maybe we should spend more time in Sweden, all of us. Tell me a bit more about the real Expo, the magazine that you and Stieg worked on for so long and that was such a huge part of both of your lives. How closely does it resemble what we see in the books and the films?
Well, it's an idealistic operation, much like the Millennium magazine. But the Millennium magazine actually makes money. Expo never did. So that's a huge difference. But otherwise, it's the same kind of atmosphere, you could say. People who are really dedicated to what they do, people who are really doing teamwork. helping each other, working all hours of the day and so on, just because they want to finish something that they feel it's important. And that's one of the nice parallels. The Millennium magazine, as it's described in the books, it's also started off in a cellar somewhere in the Stockholm outskirts, and that's how Expo started as well, in a cellar, but the district of Södermalm, where the whole Millennium trilogy is taking place. So I recognized a few things here and there, just the location and so on.
As I read your book, I discovered that Expo magazine did features on toilets in Sweden and the extortionate prices charged for imported toilets, and also the asphalt cartel that had been ripping off in inflated prices for contracts in the construction industry. It's not quite the same as neo-Nazis and sex trafficking.
No, but I think Stieg wanted to make a point about journalism, to delve into questions that are really harmful to people in society and therefore harmful to society. And he just wanted to show examples of things that should be on every page and being under continual investigation in normal Swedish media, and they aren't. I mean, things about construction products, I know that surfaced for a week or so and then it was gone, but the problem is still there. This cartel, thank God that got continuation since one of the municipalities, they put the companies in questions, they dragged them to court and won and got their money back. So it got a little continuation, but otherwise things that are important for all of us in each country, but also globally, they tend to be headlines just for a short while, and then a new thing comes up and it disappears. So putting these things in the Millennium books is a way of showing that there are things you shouldn't let go. You should have somebody who's constantly watching them, and this is not happening in at least not in Swedish media.
And yet Sweden's economy, Sweden's culture is somewhat idealised from abroad. It's often held up as an example of the sort of a society that the rest of us should be aspiring to. And then Stieg, and in your book as well, we see a quite different version of Sweden.
Well, I think you see the version that is the true version. Every Swedish citizen recognises what's in these books. I have some examples of the real life events, that things that really happened and that went into Millennium, the kind of scandals you have. But so we do recognize it. I have no idea why the rest of the world hasn't seen this. But we're a small country, we're far off, nobody really bothers about us. And you want your dream castles as well, so you can say it's better over there. And but we're sharing the same problem, so I think it's a good way to sort of cut us down to size and not make us the ideals and the idols of anyone, but get us on the same level, so to say, so we can discuss what to do about it and not hide it under the carpet.
Stieg never got to see the global success, the runaway success of his books. How different do you think it would be if he had been alive and had been part of the management of the publishing phenomenon?
Well, I think a lot of things would have been different from a business point of view. He wouldn't have let go of the translations, as has happened now. He was very careful to get things right, and since he was writing for the British anti-fascist magazine Searchlight since 1983, he wrote the articles in English from the beginning. He wrote articles and reports in English as well for other international publications, research publications that he was part of from Israel and France and the United Kingdom and United States. And if you look at the books we had at home, most of them are in English, simply because you get them first and you get them cheaper. So we're used to that language. We use it. Same with me. I also do translations now on and off and so on. So he would definitely have taken care of checking the translations, as I did with my book. I put it in the contract, of course, that it's to be expected that I would work with the one who would do the translation from French to English, and it's because translating is an art in itself. A good translator can make a book. A bad translator can completely destroy it. So they are creative persons in their own right. And so I had a great collaboration with the one who translated my book. She sent me chapter after chapter and had questions. How do I interpret this? Is someone doing this right? Can I add this little explanation? Because nobody would understand otherwise. And so she made all the right decisions, and she had some misunderstandings that we could correct. So that would be a great difference. Another difference would be the films. The film rights wouldn't have been sold off before any books were out. We talked about that we would wait 2 or 3 years until the success, which we expected to take place, would have happened in Scandinavia and Germany, because that's where Swedish crime novels usually are popular. And after that we would think about if it would be of interest to make films of them, because you needed the reader's response. You needed to know what they liked. Maybe they hated Lisbeth Salander. Then it would be impossible to make any film based on the books. So we were to wait. So that means that the films that are out now wouldn't have been done by this early. They started financing and casting and so on, I think the first year when the first book ever was out, and that was in Sweden, and that was much too early. So that's a huge difference.
Have you read the books in English as well as in Swedish?
I've glanced through them. I've seen some things that I find very strange. Well, I just have to look at the front page to see this children's book's title instead of the correct one, which is Men Who Hate Women. And it was Stieg had to struggle to keep that title even in the Swedish version, because he said it's not on. This is to be kept. This is the main theme of all the 3 books. And the working title for all 3 of them were Men Who Hate Women 1, 2, and 3. So that says a lot. So he wouldn't have agreed. He wouldn't have agreed with this version.
He would never have agreed?
No, not changing the titles, because he fought for it in Sweden, and he said it's not on. Even the argument from people then was that it's not commercial enough. Nobody will pick up a book that's called Men Who Hate Women. But he said it's still, this is what I want to say. So.
And now there will be a remaking of the films. The American version is being prepared. Have you any insight into what we're going to see, even compared to, well, there's the Swedish version of the book and then the English version of the books, to say nothing of other language translations, and then the original Swedish films and now a remake from Hollywood. How far will that have then departed? A bit like, Chinese whispers, where each person who passes it on, it loses a little bit of its essence.
Well, it can go either way. It could actually come closer to the original books if we are lucky. I think we should wait and see, because Hollywood is actually doing the films at a stage when it would have been proper to start doing them. you have the feedback from the readers, you know, that Lisbeth Salander can be included and be portrayed the way she actually is in the books. You don't have to remake her or tone her down or anything like that. So that's important. They also have the money. They have the budget to hire really, really good script writers and have excellent actors and directors and so on. So they have all the possibilities to do something really good. So,
do you trust them?
No. But it will be interesting. And they've been filming a lot in Stockholm. So I get text messages sometimes from people I know saying, oh, they are here now, they are shooting at this location, shouldn't you come and take a look at it? And I said, just, no, I won't do that. They know I'm in Stockholm. If they want me there, they would have called me or asked me to come or so. But so they've taken great care. They even repainted houses because they hadn't the right color. So they are very, very ambitious. I'm kind of intrigued.
Well, I pray that you're happy with the outcome, because there should be some part of this process that you're happy with at some point. Which brings us to the ongoing dispute with Stieg's family. Where is that up to now?
It's nowhere at this point. They agreed to meet me and my lawyer for talks, eye to eye, last year. They had said no to that before, and so we had 2 meetings. And
who was there?
It was the father, the brother, their new lawyer. They have a new lawyer now, based in Stockholm, one of the posh companies there, situated in the posh area of Stockholm as well. And that was where the meeting was. And there was also a representative from the Swedish publisher there. For some reason, we thought it would be just a talk between me and the family, and it wasn't. So that was the setup both times. And there were only 2 times, and it sort of ended. The second talk was in April, if I remember correctly, and then we heard nothing. And then in June, they sent out a press statement that the talks were off. So that's where it's at. Nothing. So.
Has anything been agreed to at all? Any progress? Any compromise?
No, nothing. No. It's difficult. They want to keep it all and have all the control. And they could. They extended an offer to me to be part of their. They formed a company for the incomes from the books, and they offered me to have a seat at the board, but they own the company, so in effect I would be somebody they could kick out the next day.
Or outvote every time.
I would also be surrounded with a lot of regulations as to how to represent the company, that is, represent them. And they haven't liked what I've said so far, so I don't think I would last very long as a board member.
So what happens next?
Well, I thought it might be a good idea for me to carve my own way through this mess. So I was focusing on getting this book done and making sure I got a good publisher for that and a good agent, which is the French company Actes Sud. So I did something there as well, which you're not supposed to do. I didn't have a Swedish publisher as my main publisher. I chose a French one. I don't think anyone's done that before, but I thought this is better business, and I trust these people, so I'll go with this. So whatever places they advise me to go, I go. And so I asked them about going to Australia when Alan and Unwin wanted me here, and they said yes, you must go. So you could thank Actes Sud for that as well.
And we do. And I was astonished as I was reading through your book that at the funeral, the conversation that seemed to trigger the fallout between you and Stieg's father and brother, on the other hand, was about the magazine, about Expo, and your desire to see some money, some income from the sales of the books. Support Expo. What was so offensive about that to them?
I really don't know. I think it was somehow they decided from the start maybe that they could, and this is also what someone told me at told my sister at the funeral. Someone close to them came up to her and said, please stay in contact with me. They have already been talking amongst themselves. They're going to take it all. So I think they had plans from the beginning, and they told me the opposite, that of course we will consider you as his wife, and of course, and so on. So I think bringing Expo into the picture just disturbed whatever they might have planned from the beginning. I didn't hear that particular conversation myself, but I do trust my sister, and so I think that is what it is. And in that respect, like all other cohabitants in inheritance cases like this in Sweden, we all lose, and nobody knows about any of us because we can't go to court. So you never get any public record, you never get any headlines in the media about cases like mine, and I've met quite a few of them. I wrote a book about some of these cases, including mine, last year in the hope to change the law.
And is the law changing?
Not yet, but laws, it's supposed to be a slow process, so can't change laws every year because of the current trend, it has to take some time. But anyway, I'm the first case that really has put this law and the situation of other cohabitants like me into focus, and they are cheering me on, asking me to just keep on talking and keep on writing, and maybe set up an organization or a website or something like that to sort of keep the issue going and going to Parliament again and getting these things changed, because it's not just unjust and I think immoral. It's harmful to the society if you give the benefits to people who are passive, and you don't give the benefits to people who actually are doing something and trying something. The ones who develop some things, they can also continue developing, and if you give things away that they can't run, it turns into nothing. I mean, they tried that in Nazi Germany. They enforced laws that made it impossible for Jews to own publishing houses, to be in media, to run factories at all, and so they were forced to sell. And I know some cases, factory cases, successful factories, where the new Aryan owners couldn't run the thing, so they had to get the old owner back from the concentration camp and do the job, so to say. So it's not practical. Some people have a drive to do things and some don't, and so you sort of stop progress if you have a law that benefits those who prefer to have the backseat all their life.
I'm sure it's already been remarked upon, but what you really need is Elizabeth Salander, who hacks into their bank accounts and steals all the money, filters it through the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and back to you through some other sort of Swiss bank account.
But how would I explain that to the Swedish tax authorities? They do function. We do pay taxes.
The fourth book, does it exist?
There's a fragment of a book, yes.
How much of a book?
Well, last time I actually laid eyes on it was in late August 2004, about 2 months before Stieg died. And at that stage, when we had finished our late vacation that year, it was about 150 pages. So I can't imagine that he could have done more than 50 more after that, given that he did work at Expo full-time. He was deeply into collaboration with the Swedish publisher with the editing of the first book, And I think they were almost finished with the editing of the first book when he suddenly died in the beginning of November, 2 months later on. So that's what I think it is, about 200 pages. And since I know how he was writing and even how Millennium started, he could write scenes, just interesting scenes where things were happening, or it's an interesting location, or it's also a mystery in itself in the scene. I'm not sure that these 200 pages actually hang together either. Some parts could just be sketches, some could be nice dialogues, and his writing wasn't planned. He didn't have the storyline as such put down on paper, but he was a spontaneous writer, so it would have been a difficult thing to do something with it, but I did offer the family to do it, provided that I could. And that was during the first year after Stieg died, and I saw they had sold the film rights, and I thought, oh Christ, they are making a mistake. They don't know what they are doing. This means that they probably don't know how to handle the books either, in translation and commercialization and so on. So I better offer to do this for them. So my then legal advisor put forward a proposal that I could manage the literary legacy if I could get a percentage of the royalties that the family themselves could decide upon, and that he said, you have to throw something more in. They might want something more, so you have to throw in that you would try to finish the beginning of the fourth book too. And they didn't want that. And at that point I thought I was doing them a service or something, because I didn't understand what had happened at all. I really understood at a few months later on when they increased the pressure on me. So I did offer to do it once, and I'm sure that if we had different laws, or if we had managed to write a will during the 6 months before he died, because that's the first time we ever had any money or anything to write a will about, Stieg would have expected me to give a go at it, but not having any legal rights to do anything, I couldn't do anything either. So I don't think we'll see anything of that. The situation is as it is.
Do you expect it to change? The relationship with his father and brother?
I don't know how people can surprise you. You never really know. I hope it would.
You would like it to change?
Yeah.
The laptop, it disappeared. Is that blackmail is a feature of the books? People use all sorts of negotiating and bargaining chips in different times in all different ways. It's been implied that you're withholding the laptop. You know where it is, but you won't hand it over. Is that right?
I know about-ish where it might be, yeah. But my father was a journalist as well, so I grew up in journalism and media and so on, and living with Stieg also reinforced some things, and one of the things is the Freedom of the Press Act, which is part of the Swedish constitution. So handing anything over, and you can see that in Millennium as well, how Mikael Blomqvist is handling Don Bergman's computer, hiding stuff from the police. You simply keep what's in a journalist's laptop away from outsiders, so to say, because there are sources there. There's informants within the extreme right wing. There might be correspondence with authorities that shouldn't be revealed and so on, and handing that over and showing that to anybody is a crime against that part of the Constitution. So that's why I don't want to talk about it. And it's the state prosecutor who would have had my head had I done something. So and that also shows something about the family's understanding of Stieg's professional life. The laws that direct a journalist in Sweden. We have the oldest Freedom of the Press Act in Europe, actually. It's from the 18th century. And the first thing that the then king introduced, actually inspired by the French Revolution, was that you have to be able to publish things freely, and you have to keep the sources, the informants, secret, because otherwise you wouldn't have a free debate to change society. So that's why I prefer not to answer these questions.
Decisions about honour, integrity, the values that are very much the spine of the honourable characters in the book, are therefore very much, I suppose, what you're saying are Stieg's values, your values, and you're being true to those values in your real life, as are the characters in the book. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah. Then
the flip side is that the family they're the baddies, they're the evil ones, they're the exploiters.
Well, at least we obviously don't share the same values. You could say that. Not necessarily being evil, but sometimes you can do wrong things for wrong reasons as well. So
I was established when one of the last conversations you had before it all turned to the lawyers was when you were told that Stieg's brother suggested that you marry Stieg's father as a way of resolving the legal impasse.
Yeah, that's when I talked to them the first and the last time, eye to eye, when I brought the proposal of me managing the literary legacy, and in exchange I would try to finish the fourth book. I met them eye to eye then. That was the first, about 10 months after Stieg had died, because I thought we would have to talk to each other about it, the meaning of it, and why this would be a good idea, and so on. And that's when I got that proposal for the first time. And that was also the reason why I said that I won't meet them again, ever, without my lawyer present. And they refused to meet me and my lawyer at the same time until last year. So, and I only could include that particular thing in the book since they repeated the whole thing in camera, being filmed. I mean, for an interview with a Swedish investigative program. And so they repeated that thing in camera, and it was included in the documentary. So that's the only reason I can prove that. And I dared to take that thing into the book as well, because what I have there has to be documented and proven, or so on. So
truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, even the truth about fiction. On the radio today, my esteemed colleague Red Simons told you how fascinated he was with the curse that you invoke. And I'm trying quickly to lay my hand. Do you want to tell us about the curse, first of all? What is the context, the history of the curse, and why have you come up with the need for a curse?
Well, the need was there. I had to express my anger and my grief somehow. I was completely bottled up. So I wrote this curse 2 months after Stieg died, just to get it out of me somehow, and I couldn't explain how I felt or anything. So this old poetic Viking curse gave me a direction and a shape to do it. So that was the need. So in this curse, I curse everyone who tried to use Stieg during his life, who used him for doing things for them so they could make a career or make money or things like that. I curse those who, on the extreme right-wingers, who threatened him during his life, and all these things I saw as a way of shortening his life, making him die too young, too early. So I just wanted to get this out of me, and so I invoke the wrath of all the Viking gods upon them, and they all have different characteristic, these gods. So I take the powers they have, and ask them to use their specific powers to make life misery. But it's also conditional. The curse is conditional. So if people, the curse would be valid as long as everyone keeps up their bad behavior. But as soon as they stop, the curse would stop as well. So, and it's a very odd thing to do. But I like the old Icelandic sagas. I like the old Icelandic poetry because it's very short. It's very to the point. They had to carve these letters, into stone or wood, so they had to keep it short, and that also makes it very, very, very powerful. So and it fit me. I wanted to keep it short as well. So it was a sort of therapy for me. And I do think the curse works.
Well, this is it. As you read the curse on the radio today, we started to get text messages from listeners saying, I just cut my finger in the kitchen while I was listening. And you then said, yes, you believe the curse works. Are there other examples, other evidence, other anecdotes?
People have gone to jail. People who I thought about when I wrote the curse, they've been put in jail. They did lose their careers. Some died. So it's very, very strange. I really don't know what's happening, but the good thing is also...
She's a witch.
The curse also includes me, It's very general. So if I do something wrong to dishonor Stieg or make use of him in ways that aren't really good and so on, I would be, the curse would hit me as well. So it's a very democratic curse.
I'm terrified by what's happening at the moment in politics, in particular in Europe, with the resurgence of far-right neo-Nazi and other parties, and it's quite eerie. Stieg was writing how many years ago, maybe not predicting, but describing things that are actually happening now. We've had this terrible massacre in Norway, next door to you, the rise of the far right in politics in Holland, in several European democracies, and in this country an appetite for ideas that in some areas, and thankfully very marginal areas, that we thought were so far out of the mainstream they never would be articulated. Are you an optimist or a pessimist about far-right and the rise of the far-right in European politics?
It's very unsettling. It really is. Well, you have to be an optimist, don't you? But it's high time for grassroots movements to start moving and make ordinary politicians in ordinary, not extreme right-wing parties understand that they really have to take leadership and formulate politics that would take us out of the financial mess, the industrial mess, the mess in the welfare states all over Europe now. We have to do it now because it's the vacuum, the lack of politics and the lack of leadership that's there that these extreme right-wingers fill.
Well, that could never be used to describe politics in Australia, a lack of leadership or a vacuum. I mean, it's obviously a uniquely European experience at the moment. Eva, we have lots of people wanting to ask you questions, and we'll start off on the left there. Thank you, halfway down the room. And if you want to say your name first, and if you can make a question rather than a speech or a statement, please.
Hello, my name is Helen. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for making the journey. Could I ask you, Eva, I think all of us, or at least most of us, share a great sense of sadness and outrage that you've been treated this way, not only by Stieg's family, but by the legal system in Sweden. What is the general public in Sweden, what has been their reaction to this? Do they share that same sense of outrage? Have you had much feedback from the general populace there?
Yes, there's an underground rage. Actually, it's above the ground sometimes as well when my case comes up in articles and so on, and you can see the commentaries under the articles. People have my case on their blogs and so on, and they are it's all kinds of things being said there in my favor, that this is not just, and this is horrible, and so on. So the general public, they also, they know people who are or have been in my situation as well, because it's not unusual. I'm not an unusual case. It's just that we never make the headlines. So I definitely have the public opinion with me in this respect. The people I don't have with me in this respect are the extreme right wing. They are also in these commentaries, and they also have their discussion forums and blogs and so on. And they celebrate the outcome of this, that I got nothing. It's their revenge, and I think they are also a bit angry. Because they never saw me at Stieg's side. I was sort of protecting him, and I was his front all these years, and they never knew, and this is making them furious. So, yeah.
Is there any attempt by his family to come up with a justification?
Oh, yes.
For excluding you from the proceeds of the estate? Not just the financial, but also the creative?
Yeah, they say the law is the law.
Yeah. Bad laws are bad laws, and then where does the conversation go?
Yeah, I know some Canadian judge openly suggested to them to join me in the fight to change the law, and he never got a reply.
Funny about that. At the back of the room on this side. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Eva. I'm Gary. Would you please comment on the acting and the directing of the films? I've seen the first film 3 times. I think it's brilliant, but what do you think?
I think the Swedish-Danish film company, they were extremely lucky to get Noomi Rapace to play Lisbeth Salander. I think she carries a lot of the film. I think she did a great job of sort of preserving the quality and the literary legacy all by her own. She did a terrific job, and the rest just fell into place around her somehow. She was quite an unknown actress, actually. I had no idea who she was when I heard that she was going to play Lisbeth Salander, but she did a very good job.
And you told us on the radio today you've never met her?
No, I never met her, no.
Would you like to?
I don't know. It's the whole thing is so infected also for her and for Mikael Nyqvist, who plays Mikael Blomqvist in the films, that it's they did refuse to take part in any serialization because the film company also bought the right to the characters. So they planned to do. I saw an interview with them a few years ago. They plan to do something like 15 films, but write their own manuscripts based on the characters. And the actors who played the leading roles, they refused to take part in that. They said that on the opening night of the first film. So that idea of making 15 more films sort of fell there. And it says something about their unrest. I know people who were sort of working around the set, and I know people who are in theatre and so on, and they said that the whole cast, everyone involved in the production and the shooting, are probably feeling quite sick because of the whole thing happening. So. Well,
the curse is working, a man at the front said.
Yeah, probably, but I didn't want to upset her or them by even approaching them. So I thought they had it tough enough. So, and I was advised by somebody to try and see them, and I said no, this would only make things worse. So I just go there and try to cheer them on or something, but no. So no, I'm not sure I want to meet her now. It's been so long, and she's having a wonderful career now. So.
Well, she deserves one. She's extraordinary. Please, at the front here.
Hello, Jane Skoklark. John alluded to this earlier about the Swedish supposed goodness of it. And there's been several reviews on Millennium, but also on Swedish crime with Peter Hög and Mankell and Jon Nesbo and Stieg, of course. And one of the reviews in The Guardian was quite clearly saying part of the interest in it is the fact that Europe sees Scandinavia as a whole as being very squeaky clean, very law-abiding, very wonderful. And so dark characters coming out has fueled part of this strong interest. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's the quality of the writing?
Well, maybe people want scandals and so on, but people don't tend to buy tabloids all the time either. I think what separates Swedish crime fiction from, or Scandinavian crime fiction, I should say, from other countries' crime fiction is we have a tradition of including our society and our criticism of society in it. And that started early on in the 1950s, 60s, so it's a part of that tradition. You describe a society as such, you describe a state in a society, you describe problems in society. You don't just have a victim and a detective trying to solve the crime. So it's closing into other literature. It's closer to other literature than maybe crime novels normally are. And I think that's what's in it. You find the same things in Norwegian crime fiction and Danish crime fiction and Icelandic also. So that's the difference.
And you tell us early in the book that you and Stieg were huge science fiction fans.
Yeah, still is.
Still?
Yeah.
What do you read?
Right now I don't have that time to read that much, but I try to keep up. I know that George R.R. Martin's latest book is out. I think he's kept at it for a few years before it was published. I'm always on the lookout for Neil Stevenson, a great author. And then I reread Philip K. Dick, of course, and Samuel R. Delany and the old ones. So, yeah.
Classics, absolutely. At the back on the side, yes, please.
Hi there, my name is Nick and I'm a fellow Swede, so welcome.
Thank you.
I'm a bit curious how you found the debate in Australia compared to Sweden when you come and visit. What's the difference for you?
Debate about what?
So the debate about the book and basically your life, I guess, in a way.
Well, I haven't seen that much of the debate. I think it's a healthy sign that you have a different kind of law anyway. The only debate I've tried to, on partnerships, that is, that I would have had a completely different situation if we had been living here and having Australian citizenship. The only debate I've followed is the one on murder care. So, the murder case, so, yeah. I don't really know how to answer that.
The law here changed because of a number of high-profile cases. And 25 years ago it would have been similar here, but it's changed because of a number of people who were caught up in the sorts of things that you're caught up in. One of whom I happen to know was a very well-connected lawyer. And the scandal in the legal profession at the way his partner was treated when he suddenly died led to a big push for law reform and changed things in this part of the world.
And this actor Heath Ledger, was he Australian? Yeah. Because he died suddenly, and he had...
He's West Australian from Perth.
Yeah, right, and he was one of the cases. I actually took his case up in my book, because his family simply said that he meant it all to go to his daughters, so we're not having any. So that's a possibility everyone has also in Sweden, to say, no, we abstain from the inheritance. So yeah.
And a will is such a simple thing. Yes, just here in the middle, about 4 rows back. We'll just get the microphone to you. We've got a couple more minutes, and I should mention while we get the microphone to the next questioner, Eva will be signing copies of her book. If you're interested, she'll be at the back of the room, I think. Is that right? Yes, there's a bookseller table at the back of the room towards the door, and she'll be going there and signing copies of her book when we finish up in a few minutes from now. Yes.
Hi, Eva. My name's Susie. I'm just going to ask a question about character. we talk a lot about families today. One character we meet, but we never really meet, we find out about, is Lisbeth's sister. I was wondering if there's any insight into what that character would have been like.
No, you'll have to ask the people who have inherited the literary legacy.
More questions? More questions from the floor. We've got another one at the front and then a hand up at 3/4 of the room back. Yes, please.
Hi, Eva. Max. I hope this is in order to ask this question, but is there any possibility Stieg's death was not from natural causes and a conspiracy?
Yeah, I've heard that before. I think it's a valid question, actually, because I expected him to, well, be shot or pushed in front of a train for years. So, of course, but it was natural causes. But I did expect him to die early in the 1990s. I expected him to die in the late 1990s as well, when things were really, really, really bad.
In fact, at one stage he wrote a farewell letter to you, which you reproduce in the book.
Oh, and I expected to die in 1977 already.
When he went to Africa.
Yeah, to a civil war situation in Ethiopia. So he might have been killed by extreme right-wingers long before he actually died. But as it happens, it was a natural causes, and a friend of mine said that you should at least rejoice, because if he had been murdered, if he had been killed by the people you feared might take his life, you would have had to go around and hate somebody all your life. Imagine not catching them even.
But you still smoke, even though he died.
I smoke organically grown tobacco.
He died an early death, and tobacco no doubt contributed to it. Yes. Organically grown tobacco. I've never heard that one before. That's good.
My name is Anne. This is the what-if question. If you had been in a situation where the law favoured you, where would you be now? If you were sitting here with us, what would you be telling us?
You mean if the law had been in my favour? I didn't quite hear.
Yes, in terms of the inheritance going to you as a de facto partner, and the brother and father not being the inheritors, and they're not being
control of the estate as well as the money. Yeah.
Yes. What would you be telling us now?
Well, would you have written a book?
I would have had to write the book anyway. It's just that the last 10 or so pages about this inheritance thing would probably have been much more positive. It would have been reactions from the readers I met, readings I've done, talks I've done, my work with the film company, if we would have made a film, my interesting work with the translators.
But it's part of what
things like that. So the book would have been there. It might have also. I would probably have written a more proper memoir. I would have included a lot more things. As it is now, I've sort of restrained myself and just taken things that I thought were absolutely necessary. There's a lot more to tell, but I don't want to give it all away to people who just say, well, he told us, we knew that all along, and they repeat it in interviews and give it away to biographers and so on. So I would have written a thicker book, but it would have been this kind of book anyway.
Implicit in the question is that part of what motivates you is the injustice of your plight. If, in fact, the control of the literary estate and the proceeds and all the money had come straight to you, would you have retreated off to the Bahamas and sat back and enjoyed the money and left it all alone?
Oh, I've tried vacations on the beach before. I can do it for a day. I can't stand it, no. And my motivation of writing this book, it was purely personal, actually, to get a grip on what grief was, what happened to me, get a grip on our life, really, and give the Millennium readers some answers that they reaffirm their idea of the books, that people, there are good people in the world, and you can believe in the values in the Millennium trilogy and so on. What you read is what's actually there in real life. It wasn't put there for commercial reasons. So that was my main motivations for writing the book, not the inheritance thing as such. Absolutely not. You have to write out of a positive, constructive view, not a destructive view. So
we might have room. Is there one more question? We're sort of out of time, and I'm being told no. Very, very quickly, if we get the microphone to you, sir. Very, very quickly, and then we'll have to finish. And now I'm in trouble because they've turned the mic off. We've just turned it back on. Very quickly, one more.
Bill, given your experience of Swedish law, do you think that Julian Assange is justified in not facing Swedish law?
Well, I think if he's innocent, he should face the law. Absolutely. Is he Australian?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah. All right. Well, I think is nothing to fear from any Swedish courts. I think what he's doing now is silly and childish. He should come. We won't throw him into jail. He'll get a fair trial, and if he's guilty, he's going to jail. That's it. But the other thing is, don't use his case to destroy WikiLeaks. They are badly needed in the world today, so sort of separate whatever he's done and his person from the WikiLeaks. I strongly defend the WikiLeaks.
It was an extra question worth waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, can you give a warm Melbourne thank you to Eva?